Now, what are some of the things that we could do to prepare to buy a home?
I say start at least a year in advance.
Okay.
Minimum. Some people need to start 2 years.
Okay.
But start in advance. Save as much cash as you can. When you feel like you're about to buy a home, start reducing all the debt that you can. I would say almost go into home buying with no consumer debt. So if you have credit cards lurking, things like that, you need to wipe it out. If you have car loans, you need to be towards the end of that loan and looking to pay it off early, and then start from that point on and really just start saving and save. I say 2 times what you think you will need for a down payment plus closing costs.
Okay.
So if that includes getting extra gigs, whether it's DoorDash, driving Uber, or you have some kind of skill that you can monetize outside of your normal work hours, or even getting a second job altogether for that 1 year, and you and your spouse or you individually just hit it hard, save as much as you can for a year, I think that'll go a long way.
I don't disagree. I think if anyone has the opportunity to maybe take a step back, go back home. No one wants to do that. I understand. I think that's a curse word to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Moving back home.
Curse word to me.
Right. So maybe move back home. Use that opportunity to save the income that you're making from that decent paying job. Take that year or maybe 2 years, depending on how much money you're trying to save up, and use that towards your down payment. Because I feel like that's a good luxury, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's possible, but then, some people's home situations are so ridiculous that they can't go back home. So, of course, then I'll apply the same principle. You get an apartment that's 20 to 25%, I say even just 20% of your take home, and try to live there and save as much as possible. And then, of course, working on your credit, like we've discussed in prior videos. Taking that time to really get your credit score up, getting things off of your credit report that are negatively impacting it. And, just following those tips to bring up your credit score, because in the end, that'll make the loan cheaper, right? The better credit you have.
Correct. I feel like another thing you can do, if you're going to rent or stay in an apartment, I would probably stick to an apartment where you're just utilizing it to live, right? So stay away from 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I would maybe even consider a studio or a garage apartment. That way, if, that rent amount is probably way less than you getting something in the heart of the city, or maybe that area that you're living in has more crime. But hey, during that time, you're able to save substantial amounts than living comfortably for that 1 or 2 years and then not saving as much.
I think I'll take it a step further.
Okay.
Right? If you don't own a home, I don't see anything wrong with having a roommate. That'd be a great way to save money. Get roommates. The more roommates you get, the cheaper it's going to be.
Right.
And if you know that you have buying a home in sight, you can just look at it as like a countdown. Hey, I only got to do this for 2 years. Then after 2 years, I'll be able to get my own place that I own.
Yeah, that's a good option. Just make sure that the people that you're rooming with have decent credit. They pay their bills on time, because if one of you guys don't have your rent or whatever, they lose their job, then that rent payment is on the other individuals. So definitely want to make sure that you're rooming with someone that's responsible.
Yeah, and that's something we'll go into greater length about in future videos.
Correct.
But yeah, just to keep it really short, I would stay away from signing a lease that, push come to shove, I couldn't pay myself.
1,000%.
Then also, you have to look at finding out what documentation you need ahead of time. If you got an expired driver's license or some weird stuff like that,
Right.
you need to take care of it. They do look at how long you've been at your employer, so that's something to think about. You probably don't want to switch jobs while you're beginning your home search. Now you can, if the job you're leaving you're at for like a long time and you make really good income.
Right.
Because I actually, when I was first looking for a home and getting loans, I actually had just switched jobs. And it wasn't a big deal because well, a number of reasons, but one of the reasons was that I was at that previous job for 6 years before I went to this job. And, of course, they wanted to see things like, job offer letter and stuff like that, just depending on who you land with.
I think it's 2 years consecutive. So 2 consecutive years, either with that current employer or with, if you were to be with that employer for 6 years, like you said, and then make a transition within 2 or 3 weeks, then they're not going to discredit you for that. But you might have to get a VOE, which is a verification of employment, where your employer, states that you work here, you do make your salary or whatever the pay is. They do plan to keep you. Also, you want to make sure you have 2 years worth of tax returns, and also your Social Security card. So that's something that a lot of people don't think about. They throw it, or it's in some type of weird, file cabinet. So make sure you have that. Also, credit documents are important. They're going to check your credit. So you probably want to start your application before you start looking for homes, so you can get that conditional approval letter. And they're going to look at your 2 months bank statements, and they're also going to look at, I think that's about it, right?
Yeah, and just to hammer one of the points in even further, I'm not aware of any lenders. I mean, not any lenders. Sorry, I'm not aware of any real estate agents who will accept the offer from somebody without a pre-approval letter. At least I'm not aware. So that's something that's very important. You'll need a pre-approval letter from your lender,
Right.
Before you start on your home buying.